Hi, I'm Kevin.
I'm Jeff, and we are Cyberlancers. So our topic today that we're going to be covering is what is freelancing?
So, Jeff, what is it to be a freelancer?
To me, it's the first word, the first four letters there, free. Being a freelancer means freedom. It means the freedom to do the jobs that you want to do. It means the freedom to set your own rules. It means freedom.
The ability to work
The
where
ability
you
to
want
work
to
where you want to
work.
work. To me, the reason why I really enjoyed freelancing and why I started freelancing after you and I worked together at the nonprofit was I wanted to have the freedom to set my own goals to go and do things my way. What I didn't like when we were working at that company is we went out of business, essentially. We ran out of money because of poor leadership.
Right.
And I was stuck there. Like, even though I knew that there were bad decisions being made, I could do nothing about it. And that's why I enjoy being a freelancer is I had that freedom that, you know what, if I made a bad decision,
It's on you.
then it's on me.
Yeah.
If I made good decisions, I could flourish and I could have a good business. But I also enjoyed it. A story there is like during after I left that company, was doing freelance, went and I got a job doing contract work, did it for about 3 to 4 months, made some good money.
Yeah.
And like we recommend for all freelancers, you know, while you're making good money, save some of it for the rainy day. Because after that, I didn't have a position. I wasn't out there selling. I didn't have a new position, but it just so happened that it was at the beginning of summer. And so I took roughly a month off and put the family in the car and we drove across the United States from Colorado to Florida to go to Disney World. And then we went back through Texas. We saw a lot of family. We got to see a lot of the country. And I had that freedom of not having to worry about work because while I was freelancing, I had saved that money and it gave me the freedom to explore and do what I wanted. Like I've mentioned before, with being a freelancer, being able to work where you want to work. I love being able to work while I'm on vacation. It's a great feeling to know that you're on vacation and that vacation's being paid for by the work that you're putting in for a few hours of that vacation. It's kind of nice knowing, hey, it's all paid for. I'm enjoying all this and it's all paid for. So I really enjoy all of that freedom. How about you, Kevin?
Yeah. I've heard of a dance between independent consulting and employment wherever I go. So, and for me, what I love so much about freelancing is I realized companies actually get the best me. I'm always very dedicated, much more motivated, feeling much more in control of the work that I'm producing when I'm freelancing, because I know how important it is to deliver.
Well, and it's a lot different when you're working and making money for yourself rather than making money for someone else.
Right. And let's face it, if you're not producing your best quality work, you're not going to survive very long as a freelancer. So I thought that the benefit was for both my clients and for myself.
What in your mind makes a good freelancer? Because I think we will both agree, not everyone is meant to be a freelancer. As much as we say freelancing is great, it's not for everyone. And I'll before I turn it over to you to say what makes a good freelancer, yeah. I've got a friend who he's like, oh, Jeff, I love how you're able to work wherever you want. You're able to work at home. I love how much money you make as a freelancer. I love all this. I'm like, okay, great. Why don't you be a freelancer? Oh, no, that's not for me. I love just being able to go in, clock out, and then I'm done with my job. I don't like how you have to, as a freelancer, you're working all the time. And he's like, I just want to at 5 o'clock, once I clock out, I'm done. And that I'm guaranteed that paycheck and I'll get that paycheck. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's risk reward here. But I mean, not everyone's cut out to be a freelancer.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll probably know if you're the type of person that is meant to be a freelancer. a lot of times I have to admit, I envy full-time employees. Sometimes the stress of trying to always perform and do the best quality, sometimes I envy that of employees and wishing, well, I do wish I could just punch a clock, go in, get my vacation. But frankly, I think if you are the type of person that can be a freelancer, which really means you're very self-motivated, you really want to take a lot of ownership and you really are prided on excellence. If that's the type of person you are, then freelancing is definitely for you. It definitely lets you have more freedom, work where you want to work, make sure you have the kind of setup and tools that you want, set up your own environment. Jeff likes working on a cruise ship. I myself love, I'm a coder at heart. I love my little dark cave that I turn off the lights. And at the end of the day, it's all about doing great work. And if you're that type of person, then I think you're going to be well suited for freelancing.
And I think the key there is what you said, self-motivation.
Absolutely.
If you're not able to motivate yourself, if you're not organized,
Yep.
it's going to become very difficult for you, because it's very easy when you're not committed to having to go into a job and punch a clock.
Right.
It's very easy to become lazy and just say, you know what? I'm going to turn off the alarm and I'm going to go back to bed. And then you keep doing that, all of a sudden you realize the day's over and you just lost that day.
Hey, and I love lazy. I wish that's when I envy it. But if you're not that type of person and you want to basically be rewarded for your own effort, and the more effort that you put into it in freelancing, the more the reward. I think that was one of the attractors for me.
Yeah, and with the motivation, you also have to be motivated to go out there and sell yourself.
You do.
Because the only way you're going to get positions as a freelancer, unless you come work with us as cyberlancers, and we kind of do that for you. But most freelancers, what you're going to have to do is be out there looking for the next job, constantly searching, which it takes motivation to get out there and do that.
Yes.
So that I think is key.
Yep.
So the last thing I kind of want to talk about when we're talking about freelancing is this kind of world we find ourselves in now, and why I think the environment that we're in now lends itself towards freelancing.
Agreed.
So for me, for my parent, when I watched my parents working, my dad, he worked for Hewlett Packard, and he worked there for decades. And while I was watching him, you know what, back then our parents' generation, and I know people who might be watching this are younger than us, Kevin and I are old, but back in the 70s and 80s, when our parents were working, you worked and you were given a pension, or you were given usually you were given pension or some sort of a retirement. So you knew that if you put forth and you were loyal to the company, they would be loyal to you and they would take care of you afterwards. So that's the way I grew up, was that, you know what, I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to stay loyal to that company, and they're going to reward me for being loyal. Sure. So I went to college, I went to a company, and I gave them my loyalty. Unfortunately, I found out that the economy and everything had shifted.
That's right.
During that time, and that companies weren't loyal to their employees anymore. Pensions were almost non-existent unless you worked at a union job.
Correct.
But most software developers aren't allowed to unionize for the most part. And so you weren't able to go and receive a pension. Companies took advantage of that, and you might get a 401k with some matching. You might get healthcare benefits, even though found out every year the healthcare benefits kept getting worse and worse and worse. Your 401k kept going less and less and less. And companies treated you as expendable. I can't say the number of times I was told by HR, you're expendable. Why should I give you a raise when I can easily get rid of you and bring in someone for cheaper? They never gave me a raise for that, because they could always find someone cheaper. So I learned, you know what, you didn't be loyal to a company. And so the only way to progress was, instead of moving up within that company, because moving up didn't do anything for you, you had to go and move to another job. Absolutely. And that's the way that you progressed. And
job hopping. Yes.
Job hopping.
Yep.
And that's the way I was able to move up into new positions and learn new things, was to job hop. And that's the only way I could go and increase my salary. But now for my kids' generation, for the generation coming out of college now, we're seeing this thing called the gig economy. So you've got Uber, you've got DoorDash, Lyft. Those are the big companies that you see doing the gig economy. But it even goes down to, you've got creative designers, you've got publishers, people publishing on their own. You've got people who are going and working on their own and doing small little gigs. And that's where it's coming into, everyone's becoming a freelancer. And the reason why is they want the freedom. I'm noticing that with my kids and their generation, they want the freedom. They want to be able to work whenever they feel like working, which makes Uber so special is, hey, I've got 2 hours, log into my app, go work for 2 hours. Okay, now I'm going to go to the beach, log off, go to the beach. Okay, you know what, now I've got some time, log back on. They enjoy having that freedom. They value being able to be with their friends and be a little bit more social, going and doing good, being able to do service opportunities. They value that a lot more than our generation did. And they want the freedom and the flexibility to do that. Their attention spans aren't that great. Because they've constantly been on their phone, grew up on their phones, playing video games. Their attention spans aren't long enough necessarily to work an 8 to 5 job. So they'd like to be able to switch between doing things and go and work for a little bit, do something else, go and work again, do something else. And freelancing and the gig economy gives them the freedom to do that.
That's right. And a little talk on the attention span. When I was in the Air Force is a classic example. I had to be in the office from 8 to 5. I was expected to be there. They didn't get the best out of me because, unfortunately, I'd say I have a fairly long attention span. Certainly, Jeff and I didn't have the distractions that our kids today have. But even then, I couldn't. It's very difficult to work a solid 8 to 5 without losing energy. And so that's what I actually really admire about the gig economy is now that we're able to work. Now, I think we need to limit some distractions, but we're able to work in blocks and chunks of time, get the best out of it, and then do something kind of, switch gears and let that battery recharge and then come back to it. And that's what I think the gig economy, the freelancing model, I think that really lends itself well to that.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people will kind of put it down because everyone's so used to that traditional 8 to 5.
Right.
But I don't think when we were in that model that we were, like you said, we weren't getting everyone's best because you get tired, and so many times during that time, you like go and let's go check Facebook or let's go do something else, or you'd walk. That's why there was always water cooler.
That's the water cooler. Yeah, that's why you had to have the water cooler.
Because people needed to recharge the battery. And so you would only get out of an 8-hour day, you would maybe only get 4 or 5 productive hours out of a person.
That's right.
Where now, because people can work remote, because they're freelance, yeah, they might go and work for 2 hours, take 2 hours off, work for 2 hours, but they're stretching out to where they're available a longer portion and they're giving you more time.
That's right.
It's not saying, hey, I'm done at 5 o'clock. Some of them might work till midnight. I was just talking to one of our contractors the other day. He's like, yeah, my productive hours for you are probably going to be between 10 and 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great as long as you get the work done.
Because sometimes that's the only time you can find yourself without distraction.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yep. And yeah, typical job. Good luck telling them, yeah, I'm going to work for you from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Not me.
It's not going to work. But freelancer, and especially here with us as cyberlancers, that works. Just all we ask is get the work done, have that self-motivation to make sure that you do get the work done. I don't care when you do it, just get it done.
Yeah. And I'll say, so one of the silver linings, COVID was very rough, terrible. It was a lot of stress on everyone. I know we're not quite through it yet, but one of the silver linings is it did show, and I think I read somewhere in the vicinity of about 50% of American workforce and jobs can be done remote. And not everyone is suited for freelancing and remote work, as we said before, But for sure, what we're seeing is at least 50% of the jobs could be done remotely. So think of what that means. That means that we could have a very productive workforce covering longer hours and doing better quality work for 50% of the jobs.
I hope that sheds some light on freelancing, why you should be a freelancer, what is motivational about being a freelancer. If you feel that you're stuck in your job and you're sick of the 9 to 5, you want to be more motivated, you want to work for yourself, and you want to be a freelancer, reach out to Kevin and I. We'd love to talk to you. Maybe if you've got the right skills, you'd be a great fit to work with Cyberlancers. If not, we'd be happy to share more and help you make the journey towards being a freelancer.
Absolutely. Love to hear from you.
Bye.
Bye now.